Donald Trump is on a streak of humiliation that rivals any other in his political career. It has been loss after loss. It has been embarrassment after embarrassment. And largely, it has come from within Donald Trump's inner circle. I'm talking Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, and now the MAGA media, with Joe Rogan being the headliner, because Rogan, who has been furious with Donald Trump recently, just embarrassed him in a way I never thought he would, leaking his texts and mocking him for them. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into Rogan, I want to start with one of the issues that has him mocking and turning on Donald Trump. That is the Epstein files and newly released photo and video that Lawrence O'Donnell broke down right here.
So we can add kidnapping to the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump's closest friend, those crimes supported by the convicted sex trafficker, Ghislaine Maxwell, who Donald Trump has publicly considered pardoning. The Attorney General of the Virgin Islands wrote, quote, "Another victim who was first engaged to provide massages to Epstein was then forced to perform sexual acts in the Virgin Islands. When she attempted to escape the private island, Epstein and a search party found her, returned her to his house, and suggested physical restraint or harm if she failed to cooperate." According to that description by the Attorney General of the Virgin Islands, Jeffrey Epstein was a kidnapper of children, a kidnapper and raper of children. That's who Donald Trump's closest friend was. Trapped them on an island when they desperately try to escape, desperately trying to find a way to cross that 2 miles of high current, difficult ocean between Epstein Island and St. Thomas, a swim that could cost them their lives. Jeffrey Epstein captures them, confiscates the passport. And Donald Trump and his Attorney General have spent the year telling people there is nothing to see in the Epstein files, nothing. There is no reason to release the Justice Department and the FBI's investigative file on Jeffrey Epstein and his criminal co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell. The Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released the photographs of Epstein Island today. They said they released the photographs in the interest of transparency. Unlike Donald Trump and his Attorney General and his FBI director, Democrats on the House Oversight Committee want people to know what they are finding and what they are seeing when material is turned over to them from the Epstein estate and through other subpoenas they have served on financial institutions. The committee has received financial records from J.P. Morgan and Deutsche Bank, and the Democrats on the committee might be releasing some of that material after they have thoroughly examined it.
As I've continued to say throughout this period in which we've seen Robert Garcia have such tremendous success as the ranking member on the Oversight Committee, and it is just so commendable the work that he has done. But the files, the photos, the videos, the documents, the flight logs, the bank records that aren't in the Epstein files that have been subpoenaed, and largely not enough, because there are about 20 financial institutions that did business and had volumes of records. Jeffrey Epstein, James Comer has subpoenaed 2 of them. We saw that Robert Garcia made that point in an interview we actually did the other day. But it is very clear that there is so much that Pam Bondi cannot block that continues to come out, that no matter how much this administration tries to stall or put obstacles in the way, they can't put obstacles in the way of subpoenas to the Epstein estate, or getting new accounts from survivors telling their story, finding closer connections to Epstein so we can learn more about just how big this pedophile ring was. And that makes it impossible for Donald Trump to claim, as he has all along, that it's somehow a hoax, especially with Rogan calling him out, before we get into the text he's sharing.
Bro, the Epstein files.
I heard there's no files. I heard it's a hoax. And then all of a sudden, he's going to release the files. Well, I thought there was no files.
Man.
He wants an investigation now.
Listen.
Like, what is going on?
They voted 427 to 1.
Who was the one?
Whoa, who's the one?
I didn't see why he said, but he did.
National
say
security.
Let me pull it
No
up.
fucking way you gonna be the one. No,
security.
So it is very clear that Joe Rogan is finally waking up a little bit. I'm certainly not giving him credit for that. I'm not telling him to stop mocking Donald Trump, but you were a part of this, man. Like, you can't claim you're upset about the mass deportations when you were joking with Trump a year ago about mass deportations, and you can't say that you're surprised he hasn't released the Epstein files when there was countless photos and video and audio of Trump with Epstein. It's insane to me. But Rogan is clearly fed up because he's going as far as to mock Donald Trump now and sharing his text messages. Joe Rogan shares odd Trump's weird texting habit. Joe Rogan called 79-year-old President Donald Trump a kid and revealed his bizarre texting habit on his latest podcast. On Wednesday's episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Spotify's top podcast for the 5th consecutive year, although Midas Touch is catching up, Rogan offered a surprisingly different take on the president, sharing anecdotes that paint him in an unexpected light. He makes the text go big like USA is respected again, all caps, and it makes the text enlarge. It's kind of ridiculous, the text said to NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang. The two discussed their perspectives on the president, with whom they both have a friendly relationship. He's an odd guy, Rogan told the CEO, sharing that the president often texts or calls him out of the blue. The NVIDIA CEO has previously been called a friend and a smart man by the president, while Rogan, of course, endorsed him in 2024. Rogan admitted that much of the focus of the president is around negative narratives, yes, because there are so many, but he also acknowledged that there's a lot of things he does that he shouldn't, including telling a reporter to quiet piggy. Rogan has previously criticized Trump for flip-flopping on the release of the Epstein files, which the president, after months of claiming they didn't exist, later said he would be releasing them by signing legislation. The president, whom Rogan said can act like a 79-year-old kid, has, despite the deteriorating physical and cognitive health, been compared to a child on other podcasts this week. Rogan talking about the weird way that Donald Trump texts and that he does so all the time and like he's always doing the capital letters and he's going crazy reminds me of that video that you might have remembered from Kamala Harris's speech at the DNC, her nominating speech, in which Donald Trump had someone typing out his Truth Social posts, right? Doing the all caps. There was someone there to help him. He wasn't just sending them himself. Now, I do believe that there are some posts that Donald Trump certainly sends himself, those that are misspelled or mistyped or just fucking weird. But it also kind of leads me to believe that at this point, he might just have someone posting and texting for him. I also have to acknowledge that the media always loves to make this point about Donald Trump when we're actually trying to get the narrative, the truth about his cognitive decline to break through. They say, well, Donald Trump just talks and works and calls and texts so often. He works like no one I've ever seen before. And to me, I think that what you see from a guy like a Jake Tapper who describes this phenomenon, or I argued with Piers Morgan about this, is that they equate Donald Trump texting them random bullshit all the time to working because it is important to them, I guess sometimes as journalists, but mostly for their egos, for the president of the United States to be texting them. So they see it as this important outreach to such a great journalist like Jake Tapper. Like, give me a fucking break, right? Like, Jake, maybe you want to cover the guy's cognitive decline. Jake Tapper did a text interview with Donald Trump in which he couldn't even confirm that Donald Trump was on the other line, and he ended the interview by saying that ended the segment on the interview by saying that there were lots of questions that Trump didn't answer without telling us what those questions are. So like really bang up journalism there, Jake. But these guys are self-important. And so when Trump texts them, and maybe it's Stephen Miller or some other aide, they're like, oh my God, he's working so hard. So I'd like us to dispel with this narrative that Donald Trump is burning the candle at both ends because at 1 a.m. he's posting. Like when I am in my bed, like scrolling Twitter and like replying and just like quote tweeting nonsense and posting like that funny Mike Johnson meme where he's like, oh my God, and I'm looking at like horrible polling for MAGA. I don't think anyone would say, wow, Jack is just slaving away. He's really grinding it out. So I don't think we can say the same for Trump. The media might, but I have to dispel with that. It's such idiotic nonsense. And speaking of idiotic nonsense, someone who is also with leaks causing lots of problems for Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, is once again in the news tonight, being called out by Chris Hayes right here.
Pete Hegseth was caught using a private signal chat from his private phone, non-classified communication channels, to share obviously sensitive military plans for an imminent operation in Yemen, including the phrase, quote, all caps, This is when the first bombs will definitely drop. We know this because somebody on that Signal chat accidentally just looped a journalist in on the entire text chain. There was reportedly another text chain that included Pete Hegseth's wife. It was an operational security nightmare. Today, we got a full Inspector General report confirming as much. According to the report, Hegseth used a Signal, quote, risk potential compromise of sensitive DoD information, which could cause harm to DoD personnel and mission objectives. For their part, the Pentagon is calling the report a total exoneration of Secretary Hegseth. You've, of course, heard that phrase used by Trump before. Democratic Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona isn't buying it.
He's totally exonerated Hegseth.
Yeah, I saw he said that.
What do you make of that?
Of course he would say that. This is the same guy who, with these boat strikes, he's like, I'm not in the room. I was down the hall at the bathroom. I don't know where he said he was.
Pete Hegseth has been a complete disaster, but this was obvious from the jump that he would be. I mean, he's the most ludicrously, manifestly unqualified nominee that anyone of my generation, my age, has covered by far. I think possibly ever, but I can't say. Remember, Pete Hegseth barely, by the skin of his teeth, made it through the confirmation process. Vice President J.D. Vance had to break a tie to get him over the finish line. And the reason that he lost Republican votes and didn't get a single Democratic one is because there were a lot of justifiable concerns about this guy's fitness. First and foremost, it was pretty clear from lots of reporting that many people who'd worked with Hegseth or were in his orbit believed he had a significant drinking problem. Hegseth denies it. Hegseth pledged, though, to stop drinking after taking control of the Pentagon. And you might ask, has he? That's a good question. Who knows? There's also the issue of the misconduct allegations, which were considerable. Hegseth's own mother called him an abuser of women, a claim she eventually retracted after it became public. He also paid $50,000 to a woman who says he sexually assaulted her at a conservative conference in 2017. According to the police report that she filed, he physically blocked the woman from leaving her hotel room, took her phone, and then assaulted her, all while her husband and children were staying in the same hotel. Hegseth denies doing anything wrong. He said it was a consensual affair and called the settlement a nuisance suit. So here we are. That guy runs the Department of Defense. He's sharing highly sensitive information in group chats with reporters and his wife and who knows who else, and ordering the killing of shipwrecked people in the high seas.
When you put together the Fox News administration, you get Fox News results. And that is what we are seeing with Pete Hegseth, and that is what we will continue to call out on this show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.